What's up, Internet? It is the end of day 2 of Metamorph. And as you can see, the league has properly fucked up my sleep schedule. That's alright. It's a pretty productive day. I'm really enjoying myself in this league so far. As you can see, we did manage to 6-link our chess piece. That literally just happened before I started recording. That seems to be a theme. I have my best luck right before I actually record a video and not on stream. I used one Exalt on stream, which earned me like 250-ish fusings after the conversion. I just busted them all. But I had found 2 Exalts today, just by pure luck. And so I figured I'd throw one more at it. I was feeling a little bit burned, I guess, from earlier, and happened to hit it. It did take me another like 30 chaos or so to get the chromes for 3 green, 3 blue. But it feels pretty worth. It was still only like maybe like 400 total fusings, which feels pretty good. Gear-wise, though, otherwise, not much has changed here. I don't remember if I had this helm yesterday, to be honest. We did change one of our wands. It's not a particularly good wand, but it just had a large roll of projectile speed. And things have been working out. We've been blasting through the Atlas today, as much as I've had time for. And we fought 3 of the 4 Conquerors now. The Crusader, the Warlord, and the Redeemer. So the only one I haven't come across is the Hunter. And so I understand the mechanics of the Atlas a little bit better now. And it seems like, once you progress a little bit away from the center, Zana finds you and is upset that you have reopened a way into the Atlas. Because when she sealed everybody in there, she also sealed herself, apparently. Spoilers. And she finds you and leads you into your first, like when she finds you, it's because you found your first little, what they're called, Watchstone altars. And apparently they're altars that the Conquerors are setting up in some kind of effort to try and find their own way out of the Atlas. So you start finding altars, but you don't know where the Conquerors are. And you have to start progressing out towards these corner regions here. And the first time you do that, at least after the hotfix today, they've changed this a little bit, I guess right before I managed to get here progression-wise. The Conquerors will find you. And then once they find you, once you've gotten into one of these corner regions, you have to run 3 more maps in that region. And that gives this guy here, Officer Kirak, he's basically like a tracker. So once you find the Conqueror in the region, you run 3 more maps, and he pinpoints the location of their citadel. And then Zana will open a portal directly into like a custom map. And it is like a full map that she opens for you. And then after you kill the boss in there, another portal opens. Kind of like the old Elder Guardian situation. And you jump in there and you fight the Crusader. I'd show you the footage from those fights, but there's not much to show, actually. The lowest tier, like this first encounter with them, I absolutely just bashed them in, right? They lived for like 5 seconds. On the plus side, there wasn't any invulnerability phases, which I guess is good. On the other hand, I didn't really learn much about the fights. They literally died in a few seconds. The only one that had any kind of invulnerability period was this Warlord guy who was up in the top right. He seems like a physical warrior-based kind of guy, and he didn't quite die instantly. He went into some little attack phase for maybe 3 seconds that you dodge for a couple seconds and kill a couple of adds. The other 2, literally, I didn't see more than 1 attack from. So I don't think you're going to learn too much about the Conquerors the first time you fight them, if you have any kind of like decent gear at all by the time you get to them. I was still on a 5-link. And otherwise pretty much this exact same gear. I don't even know if I had my Quicksilver flask until I got to the third one that I fought. And so each time, the first time you kill one of them, like you get a different color watchstone from each of them, and that gives you a full set. And while, like, when you pull them out, they only go back into a certain storage thing here that's tied to the region you dropped it. But that doesn't mean that's the only altar you can put it in, right? Like, I could take this one up here and drop it up here instead, which will buff this one by 2 tiers, basically. So the first time, I guess, you fight them all, you'll have a full set. I don't know how the progression changes once you've fought them all once. It seems like it would have to accelerate in some way to get all of these watchstones in any kind of reasonable amount of time, but remains to be seen. I also don't know like what effect having more watchstones in a region when you go to fight the Conqueror, like how that affects the boss fight, if it does at all. We know that it affects the Awakener, but I would assume it also affects the Conquerors. They're pretty cool visually. I just wish that they were a little bit harder the first time you encounter them, so you could learn a little bit more about the fight for when you fight them next, in harder difficulties or whatever. But yeah, I'm still having a lot of fun with the Metamorph mechanic too. I haven't had the chance to fight one of the sort of super Frankenstein ones that you get from fighting, like when you fill up the bar and a Metamorph. Maybe we'll jump into the map and I'll show that, but you have to actually put powerful enough parts within the map to fill it up all the way before it can drop one of these consumable pieces that you can trade. I only found one set of eyes, and I traded it to a guild member who only needed eyes to go ahead and fight his when I didn't have any hearts yet. So hopefully tomorrow we'll get a bunch of eyes and maybe run through some of these and see how difficult they are. They look like they have some pretty powerful bonuses on some of these. So hopefully those are pretty cool. We can see that tomorrow. We didn't quite unlock Uber Labyrinth Theater today, unfortunately. I think I'm at 5 out of 6 of the trials. But as is tradition, or at least was tradition, let's go ahead and just jump into map. This is only like a tier 4 blue. It's just one that I haven't, I don't have the bonus on yet. So we should be blasting through here, especially since I just 6-linked the chest. I haven't gotten to do a map yet with 6-link.
The corrupt shall fall.
And I'll probably do the whole map, including the Metamorph. Oh, we found the hunter, I guess.
I've been watching you. You show promise, but I can't let just anyone traipse through my lands.
Okay, so this is basically how the other Conquerors find you. You know, when you get to one of these corner regions. So now that he knows that I'm here, the tracker will basically have me run 2 more maps besides this one, after which Sana will open a portal. So we'll have to go fight him. So I guess we'll do that first thing tomorrow. Certainly can't be up any later tonight. I haven't had any issues to speak of though. Like dual wielding instead of having a Shaper Shield has not affected me whatsoever. And I kind of like actually running dual wield in the sense that it did open us up to being able to roll these big projectile speed bonuses on wands in our offhand enemies. If not both slots, if we get good enough wands. And obviously projectile speed is pretty powerful for this build. So maybe that was just the right thing to do the whole time. I can't even say we've had any particularly close calls. We're not going to level that gem up. Dexterity requirements on Vol Haste get out of control. And I'm running Vol Haste though for Vol Righteous Fire only because it's simpler. Alright, I can just hit it during mapping and stuff. Like for this monolith I'll probably hit it after they break out. I just don't think about paying the life cost and potentially getting, you know, spiked down right after I hit it or something. It's definitely more efficient single target damage wise. Oh, break it up, dude. It's definitely more efficient to run Vol Righteous Fire if you need the single target damage. But up to now, actually felt like things have gotten progressively easier once I've gotten into maps. I haven't really slowed down at all. It's been kind of the opposite. Things have just kind of kept on going. I noticed a couple more people that have been leveling the build mentioned that it felt slow for them up until about, like I mentioned, about 55 when they can get Ritual Awakening. And usually when I ask those people, they tried to go totems too early. And so, while I did edit the leveling tips, if you're watching this and haven't League started yet, I would implore you not to run Ancestral Bond too early. Try to wait. Just use a supplementary Holy Flame Totem in like a 3 or a 4 link and self-cast your Freezing Pulse. The campaign definitely demands a little bit higher single target DPS than it used to. And while Holy Flame Totem can kind of get away with going Ancestral Bond early because it's just a more powerful low-level gem, and it doesn't need to be linked to Spell Totem support, so you get all of your damage supports even at low level instead of having to burn one on what winds up being, obviously a nerf to your damage. So yeah, the Metamorph thing, if you haven't really experienced it yet, you want to be a little bit careful, by the way. Now that I've done this enough, usually you want to wait until the map boss is done because they have a strong part. You can see that a huge part of the meter gets filled by the boss of the map because they always drop a unique part. But one thing you'll notice is that, so we're going to get 3 unique parts from this map boss because there were three enemies that count as the map boss. So there are certain maps that kind of lend themselves better to the Metamorph mechanic than others. Race Course is another one that has 3 boss enemies. Anytime you can twin a map, you'll also get double drops from them. It's just something to sort of keep in mind if you're going out hunting Metamorph bosses. But one thing, like, we're going to get almost all the meter from just these 2, right? So as we're looking down here, we might want currency or rusted scarabs instead of just the most powerful piece because we're already maxing out the meter. The modifiers will still change and improve, right? In terms of their more life and more damage and stuff. But if you don't necessarily need more of the meter, you might want to look more carefully at the lesser pieces that contribute less to the meter, but they might have, additional currency instead of the most powerful one having something like more essences, like down here, right, on this liver. I don't really need more essences, so if there was anything down here, like, I would rather have that maybe if it had extra currency or something. I found that the currency bonuses have been pretty consistent at giving relatively nice rewards. So I've been taking a lot of currency bonuses, and that's also how I generated a lot of extra currency from the campaign. I've also found that Freezing Pulse is particularly good for the Metamorph stuff because of what just happened. The Metamorphs are totally capable of being frozen, and Freezing Pulse is probably the best skill in the game for that exact job. So once I had a little bit of gear going, I haven't really struggled at all with the Metamorphs because they just get frozen and they can't do anything. And from what I've heard, even the ones that you fight in his lab that you created of the map pieces, they can also be frozen if they can be frozen in their map. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be a really nice build for farming Metamorph bosses just because they can't fight back. This is pretty much how my mapping experience has gone today. We pretty much just shredded everything to pieces, and anything that looked remotely dangerous just got frozen. So we're cruising along pretty good. Hopefully our currency luck keeps up. I haven't messed with the catalyst too much. I don't have any recommendations so far. We found 6 of them so far. There's a caster modifier 1, attack modifiers, elemental damage, specifically life and mana modifiers, attribute modifiers. This is actually a stack of that one, now that I look at it. At the moment, though, I don't really have any jewelry worth using any catalysts on, so I haven't really messed with this. I assume that we're going to be much more interested in putting catalysts on our belt and our amulet than our rings. There's nothing really great here. Like, you could have put attributes on here, but you're going to get you know, at best you've got a 15 all attributes roll here. So if you put 20 quality on it, you're going to get a whopping +3 more to all attributes. This is a complete waste, right? I don't know. One thing that might be worth finding out just literally right now, for the sake of science, is whether the mana regen and life regen can be affected by this catalyst. And it is. So there's, you know, maybe a slight merit to that. You'd go up to 1.2 life per second per level, and then potentially 48% increased mana regen. It still seems like it's probably a waste to me. It'll probably be more value to sell these on and not quality or Kikuzaros, especially because we're going to abandon them eventually, right? But life and mana or resist would probably be a really good target for your belt. And I'm assuming that either caster modifiers or elemental damage modifiers, depending on what particular rolls your amulet's going to get. Also, one thing I did want to mention, I found Cassia an absurd amount of times today. Considering they said that she would only appear in 10% of maps, I was finding her back to back to back sometimes. So I think there's probably a little bit more oil going into the trade market than maybe they expected. All of these oils are just ones I picked up. I haven't traded any up or anything. So we're actually pretty close to being able to anoint a flash freeze when we get a decent enough amulet. And the Crimson, which is the third, it's red, green, blue for flash freeze on an amulet, is only like 4 or 5 chaos at the moment. So I wouldn't stress very hard about being able to anoint flash freeze. We could probably afford to do it like twice, really. You know, I'm not that concerned anymore about waiting to flash freeze an amulet. I'll probably do it, if not this one. This isn't a particularly great amulet, but it might still be worth doing just because of how relatively cheap it's going to be to put on there. So yeah, that's sort of the summary of today. Everything went pretty awesome. Picking up 2x off the ground. We stomped on a few endgame bosses that, I don't know, frankly seem pretty undertuned to me. I have a feeling that the higher tier versions of those may change my tune a little bit, but we'll have to see. I'm excited to get further into the Atlas and start earning more of these watchstones. I think that's about it for today. It's so late that my mind is a little bit scattered, so I'm gonna get the hell out of here and go to sleep. Thanks again to everybody stopping by the stream and jumping into Discord. It's been cool having some more people play totems this league. This looks like a super good league for freezing pulse totems. So if you're thinking about it, I would just go ahead and do it. A lot of the good stuff is super cheap this league. It's a good time for it. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm gonna get the hell out of here and go to bed. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.